Alrighty, this is a quick video for servicing drum brakes. This should be the same for either a Dana 60 or a Dana 70. With the heavy-duty drum option, you're looking at 3 inches thick on the shoe. I want to say the smaller one's 2.5, but if you got a 3-inch shoe, this is the video for you. So this is on a 1977 American Clipper Sportsman Class C RV. So this may be helpful some of you RV guys, because we can't get books on the Class C and there's a lot of bad information around out there. But at any rate, there's the drum, this heavy sucker right here, 8 lugs, gigantic. It's got gigantic lug nuts. You're going to need a 1 1/8 socket for that. I prefer to use my large 3/4 inch set. And if it's been on there for a while, you may want to slip that over the end. Well, you know what I'm saying. Just to get you some leverage. Same for tightening it. Unless if you have a impact that's powerful enough to play with that. But at any rate, I already did the brakes. This is one of those things where I don't know that you need to see me do it. You need to pretty much see what it looks like together. Because maybe you're in a situation where either you had to use a puller or rig something to get the drum off and everything exploded. Because these drums are not always easy to get off, you know. But here you go. This is kind of the setup. I got a new wheel cylinder in there. And I got all the new springs and everything. So this is the passenger side. So we got the wheel cylinder, the top spring. You're going to see it can only go one way. And if you were to turn it around, it's, no, it wouldn't be symmetrical. You'll see that this kind of arches. So you want that arch naturally to arch with the same way as the axle housing. And then that red spring right there, you got another one on that side over there. And that's pretty straightforward. You can tell the side that's got more of a hook is going to be the side that goes up. That's probably the hardest part of the servicing, because really once you figure out how to get the drum off, it's a lot easier than a lot of drums that I've done. But I didn't even have to use like typical auto parts brake tools. Let me try to get in here a little better. What I did, okay, was I used my right hand. I kind of, you know, I put the shoe into place, and it kind of held in place. And what I did was I took this part. I think I have a screwdriver over here. I used a screwdriver. Oh, I'm blocking the camera. And I pushed kind of right there. And as I pushed back with my right hand, I was able to take my left hand and hold these kind of like that. And as I pushed that back, this kind of fit into place. You want to make sure that the top's completely seated on the round part where it's cut out in the shoe. If that's a little bit off, it's going to be a pain in the ass. But as long as that's seated, both sides went pretty good. But you may play with that because the shoe may drop out or slip out, but you'll see what I mean when you do it. You'll get a feel for it. The top one, no problem there. Well, actually, let me go back. The order I found that was the easiest. Do your red springs or whatever color they are. Do those springs first, okay? Then come, and after you get those springs on, go ahead and pop this one on right here. This one, you know, will have an offset coil. The offset coil naturally is going to go where it's open, because over here you have like your self adjuster where it catches for the star wheel. So go ahead and put that one there. It's going to clip into this side first. You know, you'll kind of like that, and then pivot, and that'll get it in. And then right here, take some vice grips. Right, if I could try to get that on the camera. There we go. Right, like before the edge, and just pull it over and pop it in. Not that bad at all. I mean, I've had smaller brakes that you got to stretch the shit out of it. This one wasn't that bad at all. Then after I did that, I went ahead and I put the adjuster in. I like to, you know, adjust them all the way in. I guess if you take note where you took it out and you're reusing the same shoes, meaning you'll have the same wear pattern, you could probably leave the adjuster pretty close to where you saw it. Maybe go in a little bit, and then, you know, when you start adjusting it, you'll have a lot more, you'll be a lot closer to being where you want to be. Because basically, you want to keep sliding the drum on and off, you know, turn the star wheel so that it expands them, try the drum, see how, you know, if there's any play, take it off, just, you know, turn it out, slide the drum on, and keep doing that until you can't get it on. And then I'd say go ahead and turn it in a little bit to take expansion off the shoes. But I don't know, that's the easy part. This is mainly just to show you the components so you kind of have an idea. The wheel cylinder is going to be a 1-inch diameter piston. You're going to need a 1/2 inch to take the 2 nuts on the back that hold the wheel cylinder on. The brake line itself is going to be 3/8. Hopefully it's not too rusted for you. If it's rusted pretty bad and you got that wrench on there and you start feeling like you're having to give a lot of pressure to it, you're probably going to strip it out. Give it a little bit of heat. If you can, get a wire brush in there. Try to clean it a little bit. Maybe drop a little penetrating oil on there. Let it sit. Whatever you do, don't He-Man that thing off. Otherwise, you're going to break it. I actually tried to find a video on these particular brakes. I couldn't find one. I found similar ones, and every single person was breaking those lines. Don't do it. Take your time, and, you know, there's no reason it has to break unless if it's excessively rusted. But, oh, where was I? The bleeder screw, the stock wheel cylinder, which is what I took out, was 3/8. This is a centric wheel cylinder. Actually, I'll give you the part number and how to look it up now. It takes 10 millimeters. They've gone the metric on that. So if you get the new wheel cylinders, centric for sure, and probably the other brands are going to upgrade to a 10 millimeter bleeder. So if that bothers you, go ahead and buy some standard size bleeder screws and swap it out. So I don't know the thread pitch off the top of my head. You're on your own on that one. I would just stick with the 10 millimeter bleeder screw personally, but I could see where if you're OCD, you want to keep it all the same. So let's see. Let me give you one more view on this. Make sure you see everything really good. Again, this is the passenger side. Oh, that's what I was going to get to. Yeah. So after you go ahead and you put your star wheel in, this right here, okay, it's got this little cable line. It runs up and it's hard to see, but it's got a track back there. It'll look like a half moon. You can kind of see it. But it's going to fit around that, and then it comes up right up here, which you can't really see in this light. See if I can shine a little better light on there and try to let you see it a little bit. Not the easiest where I'm at right now, but you can kind of see it. And then, yeah, I put this spring on first because this kept wanting to fall out on mine. I got this spring on first. That was, you know, use the vice grips. Put the star wheel on. Do that adjuster, then come back and put this one in, which naturally you're going to want to start it here because you don't have a lot of room to work with it. and then take your vice grips right there, and then you can stretch it over and you can loop it into that hole. It was really, really simple. I mean, that right there, once you've done it one time, you can do it in under 5 minutes. So now I want to back up here to the drum and get you some sizes, okay? So we already know that lug nut wise you're looking at 1 1/8 inches, and then for the hub, when you go to take, this is, you know, a full floating axle assembly. When you go to take the axle out and it's going to fit down like that, you're going to have these cones. And they're a little tedious if you've never done them. See how it's got that slit in it? So it's like it's spring loaded. That is going to fit into the end of the axle. Okay? So that'll go on like that. It's going to fit into where it's coned out. And then as you tighten the fasteners, it's going to push that cone into place. And it's going to squeeze it so that it's really tight. It basically keeps everything nice and centered, and it works kind of like a lock nut washer. But that right there, 11/16, and I just used my 1/2 inch drive, and I used a little bit of a breaker on top of it, a little cheater bar, because mine were on pretty good. But that's pretty much straightforward. The hardest part of that, naturally, is getting these little cones out. You're not going to be able to use a screwdriver. As a matter of fact, if you do, please post the video and show me how you did. What you're going to want to do is take like a little 5-pound sledgehammer. Little hammer's not going to do it, I'll tell you right now. And you basically, you beat like that. And then as you work your way around, and I mean, you're hitting hard. Bam, bam. And you almost want to hit where, instead of hitting flush, you're almost hitting on a little bit of an angle. And that vibration, once you get that main nut off, that vibration is going to make these cones start coming out. And usually you can get them with your fingers, or it comes out enough that you can take a pair of long nose, needle nose style pliers, and you can pull them out. But I found that it was easier to kind of stagger them. Maybe beat, get that one loose, beat, get that one loose, come back, beat, get that one, come back, beat, get that one, because it'll start loosening the whole axle. You know what I'm saying? And they just come out a little bit easier. If you do them all in order like that, you can get into a situation where the right side, say if I left all those in, stays torqued down and it starts doing like one of these, and then you don't have the evenness, and it's going to be harder to get those cones out. So I went ahead and grabbed my axle for you. I figured I might as well let you see it, make sure it looks like yours. But there you go. There's the axle. It's full floating, you know, so you're not going to have C-clips. You know, none of the weight's actually on this. The weight's all on this of the vehicle. But let me go ahead and get these off. You can kind of see how this is beveled out, the same as these cones, but that's where those are going to go. And then as that gets smushed in there, it tapers down more than the cone. Well, to take out that tolerance right there, you know, that thing will squeeze together and wedge in there really tight. So that's what you're going to find challenging. Getting those off the cones. And then, of course, if that hub's on there, I'm going to tell you, now at least on mine, that star wheel, both sides, the star wheel, let me get under here. On both sides, that star wheel had to be adjusted up. So watch really carefully when you go to do that. You can see on the star wheel that it's stepped. It's only made the turn one way. If you try to turn the other way, it's just going to slip off, or it's going to mess it up, but it can only turn one way. You know, you could turn it the other way, but you have to have the drum off so you can hold this out right here. But to get to that back there, let's go diving here. You see that little rubber boot? Let me try to read. There you go. If I put the light like that, you can see it. From the back here, that little rubber boot has to be popped out. So, and you'll get a new one of those in your, even the most generic of drum rebuild hardware kits. Let's see if I can get you to see the back of the, that's really tight. There you go. You can kind of see it. Maybe if I hold my flashlight. Let's see here. That's a little better, isn't it? Try to get you to see it. There you go. About as good as I'm going to get right now. And that is really, really tight. When you're trying to do that, I mean, you do not want to bend that brake line if at all possible, because you could see with the leaf spring, there is not a lot of room. You know, I got like 12-year-old girl hands. Well, maybe not that bad, but you could tell I don't have a lot of room. So, I mean, there's on the bleeder. I can kind of get in there, but you don't have a lot of room. So be very, very, very careful. Try not to bend that, because you know how those are. They like to be perfectly lined up. Otherwise, you sit there playing games, and if you spin them for 10 hours, you know, you're going to probably start beating up the threads. So go easy on that one. I think that's about all I have to show you on the passenger side. I'll be nice and I'll go ahead and run around now to the driver's side. Because probably if you're viewing this video, that's all you want to see. You don't need to hear me talk. But let's go ahead and run over there. Pardon how dirty my clipper is. It's been sitting for 15 years. We got it running. Now I have to unlock the axle. Or I should say the brakes. So I can actually drive it. Okay, so as you see, I already slid that drum on. I haven't adjusted mine yet. They're just fitting loose. But, yeah, it's nice after they're seized to be able to effortlessly do that. And I'll basically adjust it before I even bleed the brakes to where it spins like that, but you just maybe slightly feel a little bit of the shoe resistance. Again, you don't need it super tight. I mean, these are not fun trying to get off when they're too tight. You know, I mean, you got enough room when on that wheel cylinder for the piston to travel. You're not going to pop it out if you leave it a little bit loose. So don't make that too tight. You'll also have a bearing. I should add that in when that comes out. And there is a gasket on this mounting flange where the axle goes on. So I'd either RTV it, which I'm not a big fan of, get a gasket for it, or go ahead and make one or whatever you want to do. But this will leak if you just clean it up and put it back like that. It'll work that way, but you'll get a slow leak over time. So, and this monster I can't get with one hand, so I got to put you down. So here's the driver's side. And it's actually like, you know, a lot of drums are completely reversed. Like everything's like reversed in like a mirror image. Not really on this one. So everything's pretty much the same. Try to get that light better for you. But you can see you still have everything in just about the same position. So that's how you want your driver's side to work. So let's see, taking it apart. I'll go through it one more time, taking it apart and putting it back together. I'd like to get you with the light better though. You can always fast forward if you don't want to hear it, except for it's getting close to the end here. Okay, so we got our fresh wheel cylinder. I want to do my wheel cylinder, right? So I'm going to come in, and the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to take off that spring right there. Take it out. Vice grips. You know, I can come in, pinch it with the vice grips, pull to the right, pull back, it's out. No problems there. Then I'm going to come and I'm going to take this and I'm going to clip this little piece off. It just pretty easily stretches down and clips into there. I was able to do that by hand. Maybe on a new one you wouldn't be able to, but this one seems like it's pretty healthy and I was able to. Doesn't need to have that much tension. Okay? After you get that off, go ahead and take your star wheel off. Which, by the way, if you're not replacing your star wheel, make sure you clean it really good. Clean the threads. Put a little anti-seize. I'm doing this remote. And I left my anti-seize on the bench in the shop. So I just used some marine grease for now. Better than nothing. And let's see, take out the star wheel. Then you can go ahead and come to the top, and you could either take this out first, or you could take these side ones off first. I mean, I guess, yeah, either way, it really doesn't matter. You probably, if you leave the top one, it may be a little easier to get these because it holds it in place. Because all you're going to have to do is take a screwdriver and push this back down, and you'll see. I mean, not even a screwdriver, really, because you're taking it off. Just anything blunt, even a 3/8, ratchet. You could just take the butt end, just push it, and that'll pop off. Same thing on this side, even though it's a little tighter because you have the parking brake cable in the way. And then, this will be simple because at that point, these will be flopping around like dog ears and you'll have no tension on there and that'll come right off. So, you want to go put it back together. Go ahead and line these up, which I should mention. Oh, yeah, before I forget. When I got these centric wheel cylinders, that piece right there that fits in, that actually I had to reuse, which kind of ticked me off because mine was pretty rusty. I mean, I grinded it with the wire wheel and I got it working, but I wouldn't have minded replacing that. But it came unloaded with that, so I had to pop the little rubber piece off, take this, I pushed it all the way in, then I lined it up, and as this bottomed out on the inner piston, I just kind of pushed it and I let it pop out, because you'll see what I mean. You want this to kind of be convex concave. You want this to cup inward. You don't want to do it in a way where it's cupping outward, because as this thing pushes out, you want that to be able to come out and not overextend on the rubber dust boot. If that made any sense how I said that. But you cannot see the other one because it's in the way of this. That's a little tricky. You'll see when you go to play with it how you have to kind of line that up. And I do think it's a lot easier if you get that to line up when you get this piece in. But I don't think it's a deal breaker. You could probably use a pick tool and finagle it. And you just want to make sure that you're close enough that you're going to be able to line this up. Because, again, you're going to start with this one. The shoe that's got the parking brake piece. Oh, I'm sorry. The one that's got the parking brake arm that comes right up next to it. Go ahead and hold that in place. Take your little clip, fish that in through the back, and then take your red one, put it in the hole. Make sure it hooks to the right way. You'll figure out really quick because both ends are very different. You'll know exactly going by how it looks in my video. And then take your screwdriver, push that red one back until you can clip this on top. Put this shoe in place. Do the same thing with this one right here. And then once you get that on, come down here, go ahead and put this spring on. Then go ahead and pop the star wheel in. This one I actually left out a little bit more, because I want to say that right there is about just shy of a centimeter. And it's probably like another 1/16 of an inch past the centimeters, probably where it's going to end up adjusting. But at any rate, you'll also see how like this wire right here, because I should add that. After you get the star wheel in, you can go ahead and put this piece on for the adjuster, the self-adjuster. That will fish on both sides behind this piece right here. You know, again, it goes on that little, there's a little track shaped like a half moon. Put it around that track, and then it goes right behind this and the red one. It comes down, you clip it into there. So, and you'll kind of see, like when you go to put this spring on, it'll be easier to do this, the spring first and then do that. But you could, I mean, there's, you know, 9 ways to skin a cat. That's just what I found the easiest after playing with the first side. So, and again, my star wheels seem to rotate up, which would be towards me, and down, looking at it this way. But if I had that dust boot off back there, I think those should be the other way. I really do, because most drums you go up, and I was going to play with it, but then I realized it needs to be this way, even if I tried using the star wheel from the other side. I thought, okay, maybe the guy before me put them on backwards. But no, it needs to be that way, because the way these are stepped, you know, it's only cut out one way. It wouldn't fit this piece if I was to do them any other way. So that's got to be the right way to do it. I would have sworn it was backwards, though. Because I'll be honest with you, when you come from the back, it's a lot easier to get this to turn, to be able to, you know, you're facing the other way, but to be able to go down, 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 you know, as you're putting your, you know, flat blade lever or screwdriver or whatever you're using. This has got to go up, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. You know, it's going to be probably right where your jack stand is. You're going to have the U-bolts in the way, and every time it slips off, you're going to probably bang your wrist on there and get a little experience cussing. But I hope I got a good enough video. I absolutely can't stand when people say, when they show it from 10 feet away, and then they don't even like go over this stuff, and they're like, okay, so I got my stuff all back together, thanks for watching, goodbye. It's my pet peeve in life. But I think you're in good shape now. Thank you for watching. You know, I decided to splice another segment in because I think it would be helpful. I should have put this at the beginning, but I'll leave it at the end here. Okay, this is the back. This is the back of the drum, right? You can see the lip. That lip is probably like 1/4 of an inch. Now let me put you on pause so I can throw the drum back on. Okay, I got the drum back on. Now, my passenger side was the one that was really, really bad. Not only was it really, really bad, but it was rusted on. The wheel cylinder had exploded. It all leaked in there. All that crud hardened up because it sat for so long. It was bad. I mean, I couldn't turn this for the life of me. Even when I tried to drive it, it just, you know, it wouldn't turn this side. It would drag it. So here's the trick, okay? If you talk, you know, you're getting into the heavy duty truck parts here. So if you can even find a drum puller, which they do make that tool that's made for drums, more than likely it's not going to fit this. You're getting into the heavy duty shit, you know, not the standard little drums. So yeah, when you talk to that guy, oh, I've been doing it for 20 years professionally, he's probably using his fucking boss's $400 cheat tool. Here's the workaround, okay? You got to get a 3-jaw puller. You know, the ones where you can adjust them and you could take the bolts out. I wish I had it here to show you, but you take the little 3 arms off completely, okay? You take a chain that's long enough to go from here and come around and go to here to reach the back 1/4 inch lip on each side. You take the end of the chain, you bolt one end of it onto one of the 3-jaw puller arms. I guess a 2-jaw puller would work too, you know, as long as you got the little, you know, where it comes in like that so it can get behind it. And what I was able to do, I took a scissor jack. Let me see if I can set this where I can show you. You know the type that are like like that. Like as you jack it up, it goes like that. Like the little generic, like what you get, you know, with like an economy car. Probably the smaller the better. And what you're going to do, you're going to take a piece of wood, you know, like maybe a 6x2, make it like a square so you don't mess up your studs for your lug nuts. Put that in as a shim, and then take the jack, put it like this, like my hand is, and then take that chain, put it around. You're pretty much going to need an extra hand to hold the shit in place so it doesn't fall. But once you start tightening that jack and that jack starts coming towards you, it's going to stretch out, you know, because mind you, this is open. You know what I mean? So it's like you're gonna do the jack. It'll probably, you know, be on the end where you got the nut that makes the jack work. And then that chain is going to pull that thing. And, you know, when I did it, it worked. It took, you know, quite a few times. A lot of times these like to slip off. As a matter of fact, if you have even another set of hands, I would say have somebody, you're going to use your right hand to hold the jack up. You're going to use your left hand to crank it. Have somebody else kind of holding it maybe underneath so it stays as centered as possible. Have them take their other hand and hold the 3-jaw puller on so it doesn't fall down. Have another assistant, if possible, hold this one. Otherwise, you know, you're going to use your left hand, or if you're on your other side, you know, right hand, you're going to use your left hand to hold that, your right hand to turn this nut, and your other assistant's going to have to totally balance it and keep it centered. That's actually how I did it. I only had one extra set of hands. But it's going to seem like the chain's going to break. And I used a pretty good chain. One of those zinc-coated toe chains that you get that are like 10 feet. But use a decent-sized chain. I want to say the one I used was maybe, God, it was 5/16 or 3/8. But I would go at least 5/16. And when it goes, it's going to sound like a gunshot. It's not going to shoot at you or anything. It'll just come loose. And it's going to rip all the springs and the shoes. Everything's going to all basically come off. And all that's going to be good is going to be your shoes, your adjuster. You know, you're going to have to get a new brake components kit. But I just wanted to share that with you because that, I mean, this sucker's big. And it really isn't. I mean, you could see my hand on there. It really isn't fun trying to get that off when it's wedged on. If you've ever fought a drum that's absolutely, completely not wanting to come off, and the star wheel was completely rusted, so it was going to take a puller of some sort. But I just wanted to throw that in there.